Hello, my name is Julie Forthman, and I am an educator. I love planning and preparing lessons for my students and presenting them to my class. But what I love most about teaching is the field trips. In this video series, you will see me combine my passion for travel with a thirst for knowledge. So pack your overnight bag and come along with me as we embark on weekend field trips, learning adventures. Oh, hey you guys, I didn't see you come in. I'm just getting ready to go on a camping trip. You know, there is just something about getting out in nature. Exploring the lake, exploring the woods. Why, I almost feel like Meriwether Lewis or William Clark as they're getting ready to go on their expedition for the Louisiana Purchase. What? You've never heard of them? Oh, well, let me tell you about it. In the 1800s, the United States wasn't as big as it is now. In fact, a lot of parts of the United States were owned by other countries. One part was owned by the country of France. Now, during this time in history, France was in the middle of a war, and they needed money because, y'all, wars are very expensive. Well, France needed money. And we wanted land, so we agreed to purchase the land from France so they could finance their war and we could have the property we wanted. As soon as we owned the land, the president at the time, Thomas Jefferson, set up a party of about 50 men and women. There were only a few women, but he set up a party of about 50 people. And these people together began to explore the Louisiana Purchase. And the leaders of this exploration group, it's called an expedition. The leaders of the expedition were Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. Well, let me just see if I got everything I need. Let me look at my packing list here. Wow, looking at my packing list, it seems like a lot, but it's nothing compared to what William Clark and Meriwether Lewis had to pack. Let me tell you their list. They had to pack nature books, journals, ink, crayons, 150 yards of fabric, tents, 30 fire starters, 10 pounds of fishing line, hooks, 12 pounds of soap, 193 pounds of soup. Who eats that much soup? 144 mirrors, 4,600 needles, 45 flannel shirts, tons of weapons, tools, medical supplies, and cooking gear. Man, after looking at their list, my list doesn't seem so big at all. You know, I happen to have a quote here. A quote is whenever you say something that another person said, but you use exactly the words that they used. This quote is from Meriwether Lewis to Thomas Jefferson, all about packing for the trip. Here's what he said. I have at length succeeded in making all the necessary preparations for my intended journey. All the articles have either been procured or are in a state of forwardness. Wow, they used some big words back then. Oh, what did it mean? Well, basically all Lewis was saying is he had most of the things that he needed, and there were a few more things that he was trying to get, and he would have them soon, and then they would be ready to go. Speaking of being ready to go, it looks like I have everything I need. I'm ready to go. Let's go on our weekend. Our field trip entitled The Eyes Through the Eyes. Through the eyes of the explorers. Come on, let's go. Oh, hey! You made it! Just in time, too. We got a lot of work to do to get this campsite ready to go. Come on, let's get started.
Oh, and these wraps around the poles will Velcro parts.
Yeah.
Whew. Man, getting things set up at a campsite takes a lot of time, effort, and work. But you know, it's not that bad. Think of the Lewis and Clark expedition. They had to set up tents for like 50 people. But all this work has made me hungry. I'm gonna go change, and then you and me, we're going to go find out what's for dinner, all right?
Howdy guys, Chef Fletch here. Sorry to interrupt, but you want to know what's for dinner? Well, tonight I'm cooking campfire chicken enchiladas. That's right, we're cooking over a campfire, just like Lewis and Clark probably did. I'm using a Dutch oven. They've been around since the 1700s, so Lewis and Clark might have used one themselves. If you want to check out my video, go to my YouTube channel, Cooking with Chef Fletch. See you later.
Hey you guys, it's Saturday morning and I am getting ready to go exploring. You know, just like Lewis and Clark. And so, since I want to be like Lewis and Clark and go and explore a new area, I thought, what better way to do that than to do some of the things that they did and to take some of the things with them that they took. So what I have my art book, I have a journal, and I have some reference guides, some crayons, and some pens and pencils. Yes, Lewis and Clark took crayons on their journey. I thought that was interesting too. So let me tell you about this. Where do I start? The first thing I want to tell you about is the journal. So Lewis and Clark, whenever they were on their journey, they would write down each day the date and some things that happened in the day. And they would write down their thoughts and their feelings about things that were going on. If you ever get a chance to read some of their journal, you should take the opportunity to do that. It was very interesting. So I have my journal. I've got my reference guides, because, you know, Lewis and Clark took some nature journal reference guides with them. And so I have my own. This one is called The Age of Exploration. And this is all about different explorers. Not just Lewis and Clark, but it has the stories of many different kinds of explorers. Then we have this book here that is called Rattenberg's Guide to Animals. What I like about this book is that it has chapters about each of the different types of animals. And this chapter is about reptiles. Now, I'm good with seeing almost all of these reptiles, but you see this reptile right here, I don't want to see them. No thank you. Another guidebook I have is called Introduction to Ecology. Now, ecology is all about the earth and how we treat the earth, habitats, and ways that we can live in harmony with our animal friends. So this is a good book to have when you're going exploring, so that you see what you can and cannot do, what you should do that will help the animals, and what you could do that will hurt them. So, good books to have. The last book I want to show you is my art book. Now, Lewis and Clark, when they went on their journey, they would, every time they would see an animal or a plant, they would draw a picture of that animal or plant, and they would write some facts about it. I started my own yesterday because I've seen a bunny and I've seen a robin, so I started my little art book. And I will continue with my art book later on as we go and explore more places. Well, it's time for me to get my knapsack all packed up and ready to go so we can get out there and explore. Hey boys and girls, I hope you remember to bring your knapsack. Remember, we want our art books and our journals as we're going to explore. And here is our trail we're going to go on and see what we can find. We're going to be looking for animals and plants that we want to draw and write some facts about, just like Lewis and Clark. Boys and girls, you may remember from the last video that we did when we were at my parents' house, I was talking about blackberries. So remember, we saw that the blackberries at my parents' house, they weren't ripe yet. So they were just a little bud like these. I don't know if you can see them. What happens is they first become a bud like this, then they turn red like this one, and then when they're ready to eat, they turn black like this one. And when they're all black, you can just pop them right off and eat them. So we were walking on our trail and we came across a lagoon, which is like a pond. And you know, animals, they need to drink water. And so I thought, well, we need to look around this lagoon for an animal trail. Now you'll know an animal trail is different from a human trail, because an animal trail will not be bigger than about a foot across. Now human trails, when they make trails for people to go walking around, they're usually about 3 feet or so. But whenever it is an animal trail, you can see it. It's just a natural path that the animals have made over going back and forth to the water over and over again. And they're usually about maybe 12 inches. So we found one and we followed it, hoping to find some animals. I have seen some birds and I've seen some butterflies, but I haven't seen any mammals. So we're going to keep exploring. But before we do, I did see something that I've got to draw in my journal. I am going to draw this purple flower in my journal. It's got 3 little flowers, 3 petals. They're purple, and it's got little yellow stems on the inside. I think I can draw that. It's a very tall plant. It has really long, thin, skinny leaves. And the petals are just little tiny little fluffy petals. And if you look down here, there are more about to bud, more flower petals about to show up. Very thin stem. At the top has petals. And the ones I saw were in a set of 3. And then on the inside it had these little stems. And there were other flowers growing. And then it had these really long leaves. How am I going to draw those? That's just a little rough sketch. And I will color it later. And then I will add some facts down here. Long stem, green leaves, very long leaves, grass-like leaves, and purple flowers with yellow stems on the inside. Well, enough of a break for me. It's time to get back out there and explore some more and see if I can spot some more animals or unique plants or flowers. Well, boys and girls, we've come to the end of our journey. And unfortunately, I was not lucky enough to see other animals right now. You know, it is the hottest part of the day. It could be that they are all cooling off in the shade somewhere hiding, but we weren't lucky enough to see them. But what I do see is this field in front of us. And this field reminds me of a quote William Clark spoke. He said, What a field for a botanist and a naturalist. Now, a botanist is somebody who studies plants, and a naturalist is somebody who loves nature. And looking out at this field, I can see how people who love nature would love this field. I do hope we have better luck with our water exploration coming up later on this afternoon. I found something while I was out walking, and I wanted to share it with you. So this is an actual bird's nest. I know a lot of time people don't take the time to look at them very closely, but look at this. Look at the weaving. I don't know if you can, it's a little blurry. There we go. Now, see, they are so intricate. This is like the perfect bowl. Like I can't even describe to you how perfect it is. And they've got the twigs and the sticks, and they've got, looks like dirt like pounded down in to like hold it there, hold it fast. And then on the inside, I found a egg. This is a bird's egg. This egg belongs to a song sparrow. It's an all brown bird. It's kind of like got stripes on its body, and its belly's kind of speckled. And its eggs, though, are like this real pretty light blue, and then they've got little speckles on them that are about the same color as the bird's. Now, you never want to take a bird's nest out of a tree, because that's where the bird's home is. And that's where they keep their babies. This nest was on the ground, so it had fallen out of the tree, maybe by the wind last night from the storm. And so I wanted to take the chance to actually look at it and observe it. And I just think it is so neat how well constructed it is. Well, I'm gonna go put it back on the ground where I found it, because nature should be left in nature. Well, boys and girls, you know, when Lewis and Clark were exploring, they didn't just explore by land, they also explored by sea. So they were out in the water looking for animals and plants to identify for the president as well. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm a little scared because I'm not the best swimmer. But I've got my life preserver so that if I fall out of the boat, it should help me float and keep me safe. You know, right before they got to their most difficult part of the journey, William Clark said, "We all believe we are about to enter upon the most perilous and difficult part of our voyage. Yet I see no one repining." That just means he knew that things were about to be rough, but he didn't see people getting scared away. He saw them pressing forward, and that's what we're going to do, is press forward. Well, boys and girls, it is Sunday morning, and as you can see, I didn't drown, so good job for me. You know, we've learned a lot about William Clark and Meriwether Lewis this weekend, but you know, they weren't the only two people on this journey. There were 50 people on this journey, approximately, and they each have their own unique story. Now, you're going to hear about Lewis and you're going to hear about Clark more often because they were the leaders. But that doesn't mean that the other people in the party are not as valid or didn't have their own story to tell. Two people in particular I'd like you to learn about. One person's name is York, just York, and another person's name is Sacagawea. You should look them up. You should learn about them and study them. Their stories are stories that need to be told. You know, one quote. This quote is from Sacagawea to finish our trip. Her quote is, "You know, it's amazing the things you find when you search for them." Keep searching, guys. Keep searching.